Hi there and welcome to Fuzzy on the Details. My name is Fuzzy, and today we're going to review the Danger Room rules from the X-Men expansion to the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game. Check out the links in the description if you're interested in my overall review for the X-Men expansion, or any of the in-depth rules deep dives I've done for the book so far. The Danger Room has been a staple of X-Men comics since issue number 2, way back in 1963. Back then, the entire Danger Room actually fit inside of Charles Xavier's magnificent cranium. Okay, maybe it wasn't that spacious back then, but it was described as a huge, unfurnished chamber which housed countless hidden perils, which included missiles that needed to be caught, mechanical hands to dodge, and pit traps to avoid. Later incarnations of the Danger Room included more sophisticated obstacles, as well as realistic holographic projections, which could be used as convincing threats or even to replay past battles. That's what's happening in this scene here, where Magneto's clone Joseph, who thought he was Magneto with amnesia at the time, studies a combat where his clone Magneto battles the X-Men. The rules in the X-Men expansion really do this long history justice, and suggest many different ways the Danger Room can be used in your game. You can think of the items in this list as adventure hooks. We'll get into the crunchy mechanics of the Danger Room shortly. First off, of course, the Danger Room can be used for regular training. This can fulfill the requirements needed to advance your character one step towards the next rank, so long as the previous step was not also gained via regular training. So, if you're playing a rank 1 mutant, you can have a Danger Room session and then check off one of those 10 boxes, moving one step towards rank 2. But then you'll need to go on a real adventure before you can check off your second box using regular training. Next, you can use the Danger Room to pit your heroes against lethal threats, putting them in real danger because of some enemy hack. Trapped and Keep Busy here are more narrative suggestions, and I think would only work if you had a very specific scenario in mind as a narrator. Certainly it's the kind of thing you couldn't do more than once in a game. And finally, the Escape Room is really interesting because it's the best way, I think, to make use of the rules that the book shares about seeing through illusions, which are similar but distinct from the ones in the core rulebook. Let's take a look. So, if your characters are knocked out and wake up in the Danger Room, but they don't know they're in the Danger Room, well, they're going to have to make a logic versus target number 16 action check to see through the illusions. Now that can be pretty tough for lower rank characters. If they do succeed though, they can communicate what they learned to others, granting those characters an edge. On a fantastic success though, the book states that a character can fully see through all of the illusions, plural, meaning that while the Danger Room might continue to generate holograms, that particular character doesn't have to continue making checks against them once they get that fantastic success. Alright, now some really fun stuff. Random danger. If you enjoyed the random tables in the Deadpool Roleplays the Marvel Universe adventure, you're gonna love this section. You can use these rules to create a random training session for your heroes, or even for the Hack Danger Room adventure hook we talked about a little earlier. First off, just select a level of danger from 1 to 6. This can correspond to the average rank of your party, or you can modify it up or down for a tougher or easier experience. Next, select the setting. This is purely optional. There's no holographic setting that needs to be selected, and there's no mechanical benefit if you do. You can select a generic environment or replicate a situation from one of the X-Men's greatest battles. And if you'd like to randomize this, well, they've provided a chart for you. But is one chart enough? I mean, don't we roll 3d6 all the time? Rolling one lonely little six-sider just doesn't feel right. Don't worry, I've got you covered. I've got not one, but 2 additional charts for you right here. Here's the first of them. And here's the second chart. I tried to include a mix of classic locations and newer ones, but I by no means exhausted the number of possible locations that are important to the X-Men. Let me know in the comments if I missed any of your favorites, and if I get enough for another table or two, I'll package them all together in a downloadable PDF alongside the ones I created for this video. After you've selected your danger level and setting, you select the battle mode, which can be victory or endless. Victory mode means the occupants must beat a certain number of challenges to win. The book suggests taking the rank of the highest ranked character and multiplying it by the number of characters. And that's how many dangers you need to overcome. So, if you've got a party of 4 rank 3 heroes, that's 12 dangers to overcome. So here's how you run the actual session. You start the session with 1 threat for every hero active. So in the example we talked about with 4 rank 3 heroes, you start with 4 threats on the board. Every round thereafter, you introduce one more threat per character until the session is over or everyone is defeated. Certain threats, like the close attack and ranged attack threats, may persist until the next round of the training session, so things could really add up if you're higher than rank 1. Another way to win in victory mode would be to complete a certain task. A great example of this comes from a comic just published 2 weeks ago at the time of recording, Uncanny X-Men number 3, written by Gail Simone. The veteran X-Men here are running a training session for some of the younger mutants in a makeshift outdoors danger room, and it's essentially a game of capture the flag, except that the flag is in the possession of a fuzzy blue elf bamfing all over the place. The endless battle mode, as implied, will send wave after wave of threats against the heroes until they are all defeated, the purpose being to see how many of the threats can be endured before finally succumbing to them. There is no win condition here. Not even for you, Iska. Finally, we come to what I think is the most fun aspect of the Danger Room rules, and that's step 4, randomizing the threats and obstacles, or designing danger. First, you take the danger level value that you selected back in step 1, and then you consult the challenging target number by rank chart. So if your danger level was 3, then the target number for all of the obstacles encountered in this session for each hero is 3. This chart should look familiar. It comes right from the core rulebook, reprinted in this section for your convenience. Now this is just the default. The rules also state that the danger room is smart enough to tailor the experience to each individual in the room. So if one challenge was a target number 14 for a rank 4 hero, if a rank 3 hero tried to tackle that same obstacle later that round, it could be a target number of 13. Next, you can determine the actual threats by consulting this chart. Figuring out whether these attacks hit or not is simple. Let's take the missile for example. If you're running the danger room at rank 4, treat the missile like a ranged attack from a rank 4 character with an agility of 4. If you're running the danger room at rank 2, then treat the close attack as though it came from a rank 2 character with a melee of 2. The rules for each one of these individual dangers are pretty straightforward, so I'm not going to go through them here, so we can get to some more fun stuff. The final option here, Environment Change, provides 2 more charts that can be used to add a little extra flavor to each combat. Here's one of the charts to give you a sense of how they can change up combat quite a bit. Speaking of these threats, I think having only one chart for them is a bit of a bummer, and will lead to the dangers feeling a little repetitive. So I look back at some classic issues of the X-Men for some inspiration, and I've got one extra chart to show you before we wrap up. That's 3 charts for me in this video, all for the low price of, well, nothing. Unless you want to hit the subscribe button. I mean, it still costs you nothing, but it really does help the channel grow. Okay, on your screen right now are some pictures of that 1963 issue of the X-Men I mentioned at the beginning of the video. The very first appearance of the Danger Room. And we've got some fun ideas in here. You've got Professor X just casually firing a missile at the team. It's not designed to explode and cause damage, but rather to elude capture. Basically what we can do here is have the missile just use the dodge action instead of attacking on its round. The party must capture it with a grab attack, but that's going to come with trouble thanks to the dodge action. So that's the first option we can put on our chart. But instead of calling it missile again and confusing it with the attack on the chart the book provides, let's call it dodgeball, or greased pig if you like, or the golden snitch, up to you. Next, you've got these go-go gadget hands that the beast is trying to avoid. You can treat this danger as a use of the grappling technique, with a possible use of spin and throw as a reaction once the grab condition hits. Finally, you've got an old-fashioned pit trap. You can have a non-flying hero make a vigilance check here to notice the trap and set the target number based upon, of course, the danger level. Failure would deal standard damage per the danger level of the room as the character falls into the pit. This classic John Byrne art comes from Uncanny X-Men 139. That's the famous Welcome to the X-Men, Kitty Pryde, Hope You Survive the Experience issue. It's years later and Professor X is still pushing buttons and messing with Angel. These batons hurtling at him are seemingly designed to disorient Angel rather than to hurt him. So let's call this an agility attack that causes focus damage instead of health. We also see Colossus fighting a robot here. I think you could stat some robots up as a henchman. If you're unfamiliar with the Henchman rules, you can check out the Tony's Workshop document available at marvel.com/rpg. Henchmen are easy to stat up. All of their ability scores equal their rank except for logic, which is always a 0. Then you just give them 1 trait and 1 power for each rank and you're pretty much done. So for rank 1, let's give this Danger Roomba the Combat Expert trait. That's a real useful one when you're going up against a bunch of rank 1 characters. And we'll go with Mighty 1 for a power for a little extra damage. At rank 2, we can add Situational Awareness for an initiative boost, and let's go with Sturdy 1 as their second power to help them stay in the fight. At rank 3, let's mix things up a bit. We can give them Unusual Size Huge for a trait. This makes them smaller than Sentinels, but it still gives them a +2 damage multiplier. We can take Sturdy up from 1 to 2, and being huge, Mighty is now redundant, so we can swap that power out for something else. I kind of like the idea of a 4-armed robot, so let's give them the additional limbs power, and that's going to give them an edge on all melee and agility checks. And there's no such thing as a rank 4 henchman, so just go nuts and use a sentinel. Alright, in this picture we've got a fire pit. What you can do is treat this as a regular pit that also sets a character ablaze, even on a regular hit. A fire pit feels pretty nasty for a training session, but then again, Professor Xavier is a jerk. Alternately, it could be a pit of acid instead of fire, and that could apply the corroding condition, or you could fill it with poison gas to apply the poison condition. This is a great opportunity to use some of those new conditions from the X-Men expansion book. And finally, we've got some tentacles here getting a little grabby with Storm. Let's have this be a grab attack with a use of Crushing Grip as a reaction. Well, that's 6. And once again, if you've got your own ideas, please post them in the comments, and if I get enough dangers for another chart, I'll put them all together, and again, I'll package it up with this one and make it available as a PDF. Well, that's all the threats and danger that I could muster up. I hope you all survived the experience. But we're not quite done yet. I've got 2 closing quick tips as a reward for those of you who stuck with me until the end of the video. Tip 1. Murder World. You could totally use these Danger Room rules to run a really fun Murder World game. You could have a separate chart of new settings and include some fun ones like Giant Pinball Machine. Quick tip number 2, a Danger Room scenario would make an excellent intro to the game. It's a classic concept, and as a narrator, you don't even have to prepare any villains to play. Just have the party split into 2 teams and have them fight themselves with, no risk of doing any lasting damage. Alright, that's all for now, guys. As always, thank you so much for your support. Please keep the suggestions and the feedback coming. It is always appreciated. Have a great day.